a whack job, a whack-a-loon, a fucking spanner, a maniac.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Oh, we're here, Jamie.
Yep, I'm here. I've got all my mannequins with their scalps nailed to them all around me.
Just kind of tippy
ready
tap
to rock
those nails in. Just tap the. Why would you nail the scalp to the mannequin? Let's get to that later.
Let's not put the cart before the maniac.
Let's not. Let's not put the wig before the maniac. Wow. Today we're talking about Maniac. Capital M, 1980, rated R, 1 hour 27. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
How
Directed by William Lustig, starring Joe Spinell and Carolyn Munro, who are two stars of my all-time favourite Italian Star Wars meets Flash Gordon ripoff, Star Crash.
Is it
also
a giallo?
starring? It's not a giallo. It's the Star Wars / Flash Gordon ripoff, starring in a lead role David Hasselhoff.
I've seen stills, but I haven't braved the movie itself. I am keen.
It's so good.
Yeah, it was part of my research for this was looking at a lot of pictures of that.
Looking at a lot of pictures, it's important research to look at pictures of Carolyn Munro in that movie, I think.
It's important research to look at lots of material of Carolyn Munro, full stop, I think. I am a huge Hoff head, so it is pretty amazing that I haven't seen this.
Did you ever see the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. movie that he made in the 90s as well?
I did, and it was
it.
not good. Less Hoff, more Maniac.
Yeah.
So how the heck did you discover this little treat?
I mean, this was one of the scary video covers that followed me through my adolescence. I think I was too scared to watch it as a child. And one day I was like, I'm going to sit down and watch it. And I did.
How'd you get hold of it?
I'm pretty sure I have it on DVD. So I would have bought it when I was feverishly buying DVDs.
Yeah.
When I lived in Reading.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure it's uncut. There's a few different cuts that exist. There's like a British cut that's like slightly shorter.
Right.
But it's not cut for gore. It's like cut for other reasons I don't really understand. Because I'm pretty sure that the cut is still pretty fucking gory.
Maybe some weird BBFC censorship thing, like we're not allowed to show an envelope for that long. You know, some weird fucking ancient archaic rule.
We can watch the girls get hacked up, but we've seen too much of their ankles.
Way too much petticoat on show in this Maniac movie, let me tell you. Okay, so I've wanted to see this for as long as I've had eyes, I think.
Yeah.
It has to be one of the most iconic horror covers of all time. It's one of my all-time favorites.
That means that Sam doesn't like it. We're talking about the cover.
I would save that for later when I ran out of good things to say about the movie, if that was the case. It's fucking rad. It's such a... I mean, you know, I wish I had access to, like, you know, the way you can just buy anything on a poster now or anything in a frame or on a canvas. When I was 18, this would have been on my wall above my bed.
Yeah.
Instead, I had Beavis and Butthead. What did you have above your bed when you were 18?
The severed head of my dog. I don't remember. I didn't really live at home when I was 18. I lived in a facility for people with stupid heads.
Stupid heads.
Yeah.
And you weren't allowed things on the walls?
No. A place where they don't want you to kill yourself.
So you legit did have a severed dog's head above you, just raining blood on you all night.
No. But yeah, I lived in a place where I wasn't allowed to have stuff on the walls.
Bummer.
I don't know how much of that I want to get into.
Would it have been a Maniac poster if you were allowed?
Maybe, but I don't think I'd ever thought of posters at that point. I don't think I was thinking about posters in that time of my life.
Posters weren't top of your priority list. Are you serious? I hope you had a bloody good word with yourself and sorted out your priorities. Posters are very important, Jamie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is hands down one of the undisputed greats. The fucking knife, like the amount of time I've spent looking at this knife, just being like, do they even make knives like that? That's a sword. It's like a small scale, hiltless sword. And until I saw the movie, I didn't realize he was just holding a scalp. I sort of assumed he'd just got done skull fucking a severed head because,
his buttons undone.
Yeah, it looks like he might have skull fucked all that blood out of that severed head. I was wrong. Don't know how I feel about that. I would have quite liked a severed head skull fucking, but I got a lot of scalping, so I was pretty happy. I think the movie lives up to the cover. What do you think?
I think so too. I think we'll get into it later, exactly what I think, but I think for the most part, the movie lives up to the cover.
Yeah. What a threatening thing to say. I'll tell you what I think later. I like this director's name is William Lustig. Lustig is German for funny. This film is not funny.
No, I also wondered if that is a pseudonym because he used to make porn films before.
Definitely. Got to be, right?
And I wondered if it was, a pun on the word lust, which means
Lustig.
To be sexually horny.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Did he also direct Maniac Cop?
He did.
What is it with this guy and Maniacs?
There's a lot less connective tissue between Maniac and Maniac Cop than there is between Scanners and Scanner Cop.
I'm still working towards Scanner Cop. Now that I finally watched Scanners, I feel like I might skip a couple of sequels and get straight to Scanny Cop.
I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do.
Yeah, well, I'll do that then. I might do that tonight even. But for now, it's time for a little Spinell. Time for a little Lustig. Time for a little bit of good old Monroe. And your mate, Tom Savini.
Yeah. I mean,
pre-nose job Tom Savini in this movie.
We'll talk in depth about Savini in this movie, I think.
Oh, good. Great. Can't wait.
Why don't you, to start with, Sam, why don't you give us a synopsis? You've had a couple of weeks off the synopsis.
Yeah, I haven't been very good at this, have I? However, this one's a fucking... This is a gimme.
Yeah.
This is a mulligan. A maniac in New York City goes on a killing spree. That is literally fucking it. And we get to go along for the ride, mostly from the maniac's POV.
Yeah, they a lot of people talk about this film in terms of it being a slasher.
Sure.
I don't agree.
You don't think it's a slasher?
I don't think so. I think a slasher is built on slasher tropes, and this is more like Taxi Driver. This has more in common with Taxi Driver than it does Friday the 13th.
Sure. And Joe Spinell was, for quite some time, a New York City cab driver.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's in Taxi Driver, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a way better segue. Well played. I mean, 1980, it's kind of while slasher tropes are still forming, right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a hard and fast slasher, but it definitely has a lot of things happening in it that I would say are akin to slashers that I really love.
There's a lot of slashing.
Fuck ton of slashing.
But, yeah, I don't really agree with the considering it as part of the slasher canon.
It's definitely on a lot of underrated slasher lists, niche or, hidden gem type slashers.
Like, I feel like nobody's calling Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Nobody calls that a slasher. And
no.
And this is very similar in terms of the way that it's put together.
Yeah.
It's much more of a character piece about a man who is also a killer.
Yeah, it would be remiss to ignore the fact that a ton of this is a ton of your time in this movie is spent with the killer, which you don't get in a lot of classic slashers. It's basically the opposite. But maybe that makes it a slight genre-bending pseudo-slasher. I don't know. I don't know what I'd call it. I don't really care. I just know it's got lots of stuff that I like, and a lot of that happens to fall squarely in common with the slasher genre. But there's also a lot in here that I like about just kind of creep movies. Do you know what I mean? Like movies about a nut job, a whack job, a whackaloon, a fucking spanner, a maniac. And I love that we know exactly what we're getting. The movie's called Maniac, which gives us license to say the word maniac over and over, which I love. It's a strong mission statement. Cover and title, done. And
then also, like, you throw Joe Spinell in the mix, this ugly, sweaty little fucking Boston Terrier of a man. Like, perfect trifecta.
It really is.
Before we go for a break, Sam, I want to say that this movie contains my all-time favorite kill.
Wow.
And I will talk about that at some point after the break.
I'm very tempted to say that I know which kill it is, but I've been wrong before.
Break time.
Break time.
Oh, shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Sam, what record labels are you plumping at the moment?
Just Fat Wreck. No, wait. Just mostly Red Scare Industries. I mean, you want to talk about a label that launched the career of the Menzingers. You are welcome, people. Chicago's premier purveyors of punk, rock, power, pop, party, pinata music. Get your lips around some redscare.net is my advice. What about you, Jamie?
I have the same advice. I think that is good advice. You should go to that website, buy yourself a record or a t-shirt, a koozie, like, I don't know, do what you need to do, but like, just go there and buy the things.
Do what you need to do, but get it done. Redscare.net. Wow, what a break. I feel stretched, limber, lubed, ready to go.
I'm sat here like fucking doll sim. That's how limber I am right now.
Yeah, you ready to fucking yoga flame?
I've never yogaed or flamed in my life.
You flamed. I've seen you flaming. You should yoga. It's great.
I think I had a dream. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my dreams again, but I think I had a dream about doing yoga recently.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you wake up uncomfortable in any way?
No.
Okay.
I think at work, I've been signed up to desk yoga.
Wow. Okay, cool.
And I just keep not going.
Oh. Someone signed you up for it and you just don't go.
Yeah.
Isn't that your MO for work, generally speaking?
Absolutely not. I work very hard between the hours of 9 and 5, Monday to Friday.
9 and
52 weeks a year.
Love it. For legal reasons, none of this is admissible in any kind of employee-employer tribunal. So let's fucking dig into Maniac, shall we? This has, by far, one of my favorite opening scenes in a horror movie ever. Going in hard. I love a beach murder. I love the beach generally, but as soon as you see, it's a real statement shot, this beach, I think. It lingers for a really long time. You don't know what's happening. No characters have been established. We get 2 fucking deaths in quick but well-paced succession. It's grainy. Is it, what is this shot on? Is it like, feels like it's fucking 16mm or something?
Yeah, it'll definitely be 16 mil.
Yeah, it just looks great. It doesn't look like a film at this point. It looks like a home movie. And there's a lot of great creepy stalker action that I love. There's a lot of, peeking and sneaking, and it's executed really, really well. It's very menacing.
Yeah, I think the way that it's shot and the fact that it's shot on 16mm and then blown up, you just sort of feel like you shouldn't be watching it.
Yep, absolutely. It feels voyeuristic.
This film, even now in the year 2024, makes me feel like how I felt when I was 10 years old, watching movies in my bedroom with the remote in my hand, ready to turn it off if someone came in the room at any time.
Yeah, there's a real forbidden fruit feeling.
Yeah.
All 3 Fs. Yeah, I think that's because it's fucking grisly. It's such a chewy, dirty fucking film. It's a real guilty pleasure, I think, for a lot of people. Not for me.
Yeah.
I think this was bigged up for me. A lot of people said, oh my God, it's like you need a shower after you watch this film. It's so greasy. I was like, yeah, it's kind of greasy, but it's exactly the kind of visuals that I like. So it's not quite like, it's like a duller, rough around the edges Warriors kind of look.
Yeah.
New York subway stuff, it looks how it looks and that's how it's coming out, that kind of vibe. But it's not, doesn't feel grindhousey, really, does it? I mean, a lot of people say it do. A lot of people say it do.
Hey, Tom's back.
Hey, Tom. How you been? Pretty good. What do you think about whatever the question was I just asked?
I do think it feels grindhousey, but I feel like it oscillates pretty wildly between like feeling grindhousey and feeling like sort of Scorsese-esque.
Sure. Right on the line.
Yeah. It feels a lot like a kind of movie that Brian De Palma would have made.
Right.
And it also feels a little bit Giallo-esque at times. Giallos are Italian slasher films.
Thank you. You change the definition of Giallo every time I ask, I swear.
Well, it's ostensibly a slasher.
Yeah. Again, like I don't want to blow my wad too soon here, Jamie, but I really think it actually looks quite beautiful. There's a lot of great shots. There's some
Yeah, there are.
scary shit done with just the camera in this. There's a shot in the subway where it like jerks forward in little increments of inches until you're looking at this fucking guy coming down the stairs. And I don't know if I'd seen that pre 1980. I'm not sure, probably have, but it's used really well. It's really well executed.
Yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit. Was it in the Bone Tomahawk episode where like you can just sort of bungle your way into incredibly innovative and different things when you're like the first time you're making an actual film that isn't people on a bed fucking.
Yeah.
Like it's the stuff that, like we said last time we talked about it, I'm pretty sure it was in the Bone Tomahawk episode. Like it's the stuff that like Raimi built his career on, but like being innovative because you have to, or because you don't really know what you're doing. So you're like, well, why wouldn't I do it this way? Why wouldn't I
not
try
knowing
this
what you're
thing?
doing wrong that's like a massive creative
Yeah.
asset, right? Not being hamstrung by convention or people telling you that you shouldn't do something a certain way, just trying and seeing. That's the one of the foundational like pillars of art, isn't it? Like especially
Yeah.
outsider art or early stages art or early stage career work for filmmakers
if you
who
think
go on to do
about-
other things.
If you think about that scene in the subway where the woman is hiding in the toilet cubicle,
Yeah.
it just goes on and on and on. Obviously, like we said in the Bone Tomahawk review, like that scene there where it's sort of there's that 30-second wait. Like it's so bold to make you just sit and wait and feel the tension that she's feeling and feel, is it safe? I think it's safe. We've been here for so long, it must be safe.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we've been here for so long. Why would we still be here if it was safe? And then like you sort of go through all of these journeys with her, and it's so interesting and it's exciting filmmaking, but not exciting viewing, but exciting to participate in.
Yeah, you still feel like you're like weighed down the whole way through that scene because everything's so oppressive and dank. And she takes so long to leave as well. Like she hides for ages, but then coming out, it's like tiptoeing, like inch by inch. And I think you're right. I think that serves the purpose of creating a huge amount of tension. And it's the kind of tension that I don't mind being in a movie like this. I expect to feel like I'm walking in slow motion in a dream. I'm so terrified, when I'm living in the perspective of one of these characters. So I think that really serves the movie. The fact that this guy's just like, well, filmed a lot of cum shots. Why don't I film a Maniac flick? Like, sure, go for it. We can say cum shots, can't we? We can say whatever we want, right?
Yeah. We can say whatever the hell we want. This is
Cream
the
pies
adult
and cum
tour.
shots.
The special effects in this, Tom Savini's special effects in this
Here we go.
are his best work. He has never topped this.
Wow. I know you can't see me right now, listeners, but my eyes just fucking flew out on stalks. I'm having to stuff them back into my head. Wow. Go on.
He could never top this. The
Oh.
Disco Boy death, his own death,
I really don't want to
Like-
disagree, so I'm just going to let you go. Go, 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 go.
the scalpings.
Mm.
I watched those scenes this time so closely to try and figure out where the lines were in terms of what the special effect and what wasn't special effect. And I was like, well, okay, that's not a dummy head. So there must be like a little tube that's like spraying or squirting blood out as he goes. But then he does one where he's just like using the very thinnest part of the blade. It's
Yeah.
like, well, how is this happening? Like I can't fathom it.
Yeah, it's some of the best blood knife work I've ever seen, I think, for sure. And, Disco Boy.
The Disco Boy
death.
death is
Jesus.
okay. It is my favorite. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite death in a movie ever.
Get in. Wow. I mean, I can imagine why, first of all.
I mean, it's been my favorite movie death ever from long before Tom Savini started posting his 70-year-old thirst traps on Instagram.
I love his nudes so much.
Like long before his fucking little penis gun was out in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Sex machine.
Fuck Sex Machine. Like
Sex machine.
it's
rips.
just so cool.
Yeah.
Like the
but
amount
what do you
of
love
blood
about
that
it?
lives inside that head.
Yeah.
It's just really funny to me. And
Do you know
like
what was in that head?
fucking a world of guts and shit.
It was mostly just stuff from the catering tables that people hadn't
Yeah,
eaten. So there was actual apple cores in there. It was like chunks of sandwich. There was a ton of condoms full of fake blood. Just
amazing.
what a shit show.
I've heard so many great stories about the shooting of that, where they used like a real shotgun,
Yeah.
and like a PA or someone was like waiting in a car with its engine idling next to him,
Yeah.
so they could like throw the shotgun in the car and drive it away as he's like. So when the police come, it's like, nope, no shotguns here, officer.
It's so fucking badass. Apparently, at the time, discharging like a live round from a firearm in New York City got you 5 years automatically. So this is fucking risky filmmaking. These are people putting their
I mean,
careers on the line, putting their liberty on the line.
it's risky filmmaking, and also like you might get 5 years, but you'll almost definitely get shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if the fucking the NYPD comes screeching around to the alley that you're in while you're standing on the hood of a car, having just fired a shotgun into a massive balloon full of fucking condoms full of blood. Yeah, you're going to fucking jail, bud. You might stay the night. It's fucking insane.
Pretty sure they wouldn't take you to jail. They would just discharge all of their rounds, every round that they had on them, into your limp, lifeless corpse.
And that would be a shame because it would be Tom Savini and we would not get some great stuff, some great birthday
Yeah,
movies.
we wouldn't have got Birthday News. We wouldn't have got Sex Machine. We wouldn't have got his fucking workout stuff. Like,
Yeah, so it would be a real shame. I base a lot of my pec work on Tom Savini's workout. Can't even pretend. But the point being here, like that is some punk rock filmmaking, and you know everything after this is great as well. Like the car, they wanted to use the car in some later shots. They got it out of storage, and it fucking stank so bad. People were sick when they opened the doors, so they just sank it in the river. Like, what the fuck? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
No,
really.
it's not. It's also pretty unconscionable, like from an environmental standpoint. But it's a great story.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the least bad thing that was in the Hudson River or whatever at that time.
Yeah, most probably. There was probably a whole mess of real dead people down there, not just Tom Savini's used Johnnies. So, yeah, I mean, the slow-mo is... at first, I was in two minds because I was like, slow-mo for a head explosion? I don't know. And then I rewatched it a couple of times. I was like, it fits the movie perfectly. That's the gauge, right? If it feels out of place in the film, it's probably not working that well, but it fits like a glove.
Yeah, I think like it's just so fun and like completely incongruous. I mean, it fits perfectly, but it also stands out like a huge sore pectoral muscle. I'm pretty sure they were like, oh, let's do this shooting me in the head effect. So I guess we'll film Joe Spinell take his knives home and get his guns out, go out, shoot him in the head, take his guns home, and then take his knives back out.
Yeah.
Like it's nonsense. I love it.
I love it too, but the reason I bought in, it's funny that you mention it now, it does feel a little bit out of place now. I've just said how fucking perfectly it fits. But it's because I realized by this point in the film, they're starting to take the fucking gloves off. I think they're like, we're not going to do what you think we're going to do. And whether that's a statement of intent or a total fucking blundering accident. But they, you know, Tom Savini said, I have a mask of my head. Can we blow it up? And they were like, yeah, sure. So they obviously like jammed that scene in there. But the fact that they did it the way they did it is a moment in the movie that things just start to fucking fly in a different direction. It's like, well, we really don't know what this guy's going to do next. He's not just stabbing people. He's not just, you know, garroting people. He's not just sneaking up on them and whacking them over the head with a hammer or whatever. He's fucking shotgunning them in the head in cars.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I don't understand Joe Spinell's, Frank Zito's MO here.
Okay. You can relate to it in that one scene, though, which is more than a lot of people could say about.
I can relate to it in quite a lot of scenes, Sam. Why do you think I was at the place we were talking about earlier?
I knew you'd go there. I mean, it's some brilliant, like, fucking bullshit, reductive armchair Freud stuff, right? And it's not explored in a way that I think means you have to understand it. It's more like, look how nuts he is. Who knows what he's going to do next? Which, for the sake of this movie, I really enjoy. He definitely has, like, quote unquote mummy issues. You know, that's the main thing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's interesting how they try and like bring it back in the latter half. Like they try and make him a little bit sympathetic.
Yeah, I love that. It's really fucking dangerous to do that to an audience at that point in a movie. Imagine how alienating that is and controversial that is.
Yeah.
There was a lot of backlash about this movie when it came out, that it was, it was advocating violence towards women, and there was a lot of feminists who were very, very unhappy that this movie existed and that it was being shown in theaters. And people,
One of those feminists was Gene Siskel.
well, there you go.
He's not a feminist. He is a raving misogynist, but he's also anti-violence in horror movies.
Yeah, well, fuck me. A lot of bleed in those two areas. But I think one of the main criticisms of the movie is that men were going to go watch it and then be inspired to do the things that happen in the movie. And that's, tale as old as time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm amazed that some of the stuff that happens in this movie got through the censors, and then
It didn't go through the censors at all. They didn't even submit it. They just released it X.
wow, they just went full on X. Oh, that makes loads of sense because it's rated R on everything I looked at it on. So that makes even more sense.
Obviously went through the censors later, probably for DVD release and maybe even VHS release.
But everyone had chilled out by then.
Yeah, but when on like actual release, and it established itself as like quite an important and historically important film. It's not fucking Gettysburg or whatever. But like
Gettysburg, what an example.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Gettysburg.
It's not Tombstone.
They did get a lot of backlash from that. They weren't allowed to advertise in any of the usual places. So they did a bunch of like what today you consider sort of viral advertising.
Yeah.
Which is like putting TVs around that were just showing the violent scenes, which is cool as fuck.
Yep. I mean, that's so subversive, especially in a climate where people are telling you that this should be banned because it's going to cause people to go out and do maniac behavior, as in the maniac of the movie. That's wild to do that.
It's wild to me that, like, obviously there was all this furore around it in the US, but it didn't make the official video nasties list in the UK.
And some of the shit that did is pretty fucking vanilla compared to this.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, Evil Dead was a video nasty, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere between Evil Dead and Cannibal Corpse, I think Maniac lives. I don't think
Cannibal
it's...
Holocaust.
Did I say... What did I say?
You said Cannibal Corpse.
Fuck yeah, buddy. Firing on all cylinders today. Enjoy your edit.
This is Angels and Airwaves, Angels in America all over again.
Oh, boy. You're only
and
allowed
yes,
one.
I do think Frank Zito does like Cannibal Corpse.
Absolutely. But what if you're only allowed one for the rest of your life? You're only allowed Cannibal Corpse or Cannibal Holocaust. Which one are you taking?
I would take Cannibal Holocaust.
Wow. Not a big Cannibal Corpse fan or just a huge fucking Cannibal Holocaust fan?
There are a million other bands that sound like Cannibal Corpse.
That's a very good point.
There aren't a million other Cannibal Holocausts out there.
You wouldn't be able to watch that like 35-second Cannibal Corpse cameo in Ace Ventura, which would be
I don't watch Ace Ventura anymore.
You're only allowed one. The other one gets in the bin forever. Ace Ventura, the movie series, or Austin Powers, the movie series.
I would pick Austin Powers.
To keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you like boobies.
I like boobies. I like goofy 60s nonsense. I like Mike Myers. I like fembots.
Mike Myers definitely saw Maniac, by the way.
Yeah?
Does this ever like cross your mind? Like, Mike Myers was a massive cinephile. He loved horror movies. He was always going to see whatever the craziest, most controversial shit was. And he definitely saw Maniac. Can you imagine young Mike Myers sitting in a cinema somewhere, probably like a Toronto cinema, or no, he's probably in LA by now, just like fucking chowing down on popcorn and watching Maniac. What do you think of Joe Spinell in this movie?
I think he's amazing. Okay, let me backtrack on that immediately.
Go on.
I think there are scenes where he is amazing.
Right.
And there are scenes where he is fucking terrible.
Really? What, you've got pinpointed moments that you don't like?
I mean, I don't not like the moments, but I just don't think his performance is up to snuff.
Well, at this point in his career, he'd already done some smaller parts in some heavyweight shit, right? He was in Rocky. He was in Godfather 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He was in Walking the Edge. That was 5 years later. He did loads of stuff and established himself as a much loved character actor who had a reputation for being very charismatic and very funny, and people liked his general style. He's done Taxi Driver by this point. Fucking heck. I mean, he's really building a name for himself. This is his first leading role.
Yeah.
What?
And like one of the
an
few,
interesting
really.
choice. Yeah.
But I think he was pretty involved in. Did he co-write it? Am I remembering that right?
Co-write it
Yeah.
and co-wrote it and was also part of the production process. Like, did a lot of schmoozing for hard to get cast members and greased a lot of palms for locations and stuff. Like, was pretty instrumental in getting and keeping the ball rolling.
Yeah. So the scene that I thought, okay, I can pinpoint that this is bad, is the first time that he sits down and talks with Anna, Caroline Munro's character. It feels awkward in a way that it doesn't feel like it's meant to, because they're clearly getting along. They're going to go out on a date. He's going to ask her out on a date or something in like 2 minutes time.
Yeah.
So like it shouldn't feel this awkward and stunted and bad. Like it's not good. But then, like, I don't know, a few scenes later, he's giving that intense monologue while he's got her model tied up.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. Like, that could be in a different movie, that could be like an Oscar speech. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. How do you feel about that whole scene? That their whole, because I don't know how I feel about his performance, because the whole scene feels like a problem to me.
Yeah, because like, he follows her home and she's completely okay with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about their interactions that I find a little bit difficult when they're talking at the gallery. Is it a gallery? Yeah. That scene is talked about a lot as being a problem scene in the movie for breaking the continuity of his character arc. Like, if he's able to snap into this hyper charismatic, totally believably normal kind of way of behaving, then how much control does he have over his mania? To what extent is he forming? Like, when is he performing, and how and why? I mean, I find it extra unnerving, so I kind of like it, but I can see why you would find it jarring if you were really paying attention to the character and you really wanted to be rewarded for investing in that character.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're trying to do, and like it's part of the making him sympathetic, is like serial killers are never just serial killers.
Sure.
They always have different faces for different people. So, and I think that's what we're trying to say here. I think that's what the movie's at least talking about, is that, to his neighbors, he's the lovely landlord of the fucking slum brownstone or whatever.
Yeah.
Tenement is the word that I couldn't think of there. But, he's also, he can be charming and charismatic if he has to be, but he can't be forever. He has to snap eventually, and he does.
Yeah. I mean, I read a lot about this being Jaws on land, which is hilarious because every movie where somebody hunts someone to kill them is Jaws on land.
Yeah, isn't Predator Jaws on land?
Yeah, exactly. But I get that because he is, in that scene at least, to me, kind of shark-like. He's in control and he's stalking his prey in this very, like, I don't know, cold, calculating way. I don't know.
It sounds more like Jaws 4 on land.
Jaws 4, yeah, absolutely. I don't know how I feel about that scene. All I know is it didn't actually fuck me up until I started reading about it afterwards. So I think it's pretty good. Like, I like that aspect of his character, whether he's so in control he can click in and out of it, or whether when he's treated nicely, he's nice. That's really interesting to me as well. He's such a gross, fearsome character that seeing him act normal is it puts you on the back foot in a way that I find really exciting in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, his normal still isn't good enough for Caroline Munro, is it?
No, I mean, I'd struggle to imagine a man on Earth who's good enough for Caroline Munro.
I guess the producer, the millionaire producer that put in loads of money.
Her husband.
Exactly.
Yeah. And fine, good for them. What a good-looking couple. It's hard to believe Joe Spinell with her romantically, I guess, for some people, but not for me. Again, I don't know. There's some gravity to his performance and his charisma in those scenes that makes it totally believable. A, he's kind of funny in those scenes. B, he's like quite a big guy. He brushes up okay. I'm not going to say he looks like someone I can imagine Caroline Munro running out and, courting in real life, but it's believable in the scene.
Yeah, he's kind of charming, isn't he?
I think he's very charming, and I don't buy the idea that he's hideous either. I think he's unconventionally.
He can be hideous. He's hideous in a lot of this movie.
He's what would happen if Adam Driver fucked Danny Trejo and somehow they had a baby boy.
Yeah. I think like the movie wants him to be hideous, and like when he's killing or doing hideous things, it shoots him from this horrible angle.
Yep.
Where he's all gurning and sweating and he's all chins.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks incredible. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
to
really
be
close.
This close to a pockmarked, acne-scarred, freaky little pug of a man.
Yeah, and you know that you're underneath him dying and he's sweating in your mouth and into your eyes and the smell must be unreal. Like,
Yeah.
it's a real fucked up position to put your viewer in, and I loved every second of it. It went on too long, which is great.
Yeah.
The camera was wobbly. It was brilliant. It felt totally real, and there's so much realism in this ridiculous movie. You just get swept away with it. I think you're not bored. I don't think in this movie.
There are a couple of times that I sort of drifted to looking at my phone,
Right.
or looking at something else in my room when I was 20. I don't know.
I think, but what were we doing when we were 20?
Literally.
I still leave my phone in the other room if I'm watching a movie like this. Like I have to fucking be in it, I think. Otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know. Point being, for a movie this drab looking and this difficult to look at times, I think it's pretty arresting in terms of what I love as well. I have to say this now or I'll forget. It does not give a fuck about conventional pacing, and it is not a fast or a slow movie. It's whatever it wants to be in the scene. The pacing of this movie is so all over the place in such a fun way. You never know if you're going to have like a fast chase scene or an agonizingly slow chase scene for some bizarre reason.
Both in the same chase scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I really like that. It feels refreshing, even in 1980, for something that looks like a fucking chewed up walnut spat on the floor. Like I don't know, it just does something for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just clever. It's clever filmmaking. I do think it wanders into boring territory occasionally.
Yeah.
But I think that's all part of it. I think that's part of the charm.
I think you can be boring, but not dull.
Yeah.
That's probably not true, but I like what I said.
It slows down to a bit of a crawl sometimes, and you sort of. But it wants you to feel that way in that moment. It wants you to be like, okay, let's get to where we're going.
Yeah.
Let's try to understand what's happening here.
Jesus, do you know what is dull as fucking doormats is Friday the 13th. Quite a lot of Friday the 13th is people walking around with cups in their hand or just like looking at things and walking from one person to another and saying something fucking dumb and boring and then walking back. There's so much of that film that should be chopped. And I found this.
But imagine that movie, but with all the gore cut out. So
yeah, right. Believe me, I can imagine it. I've seen it with my own fucking eyes. At least it had telekinesis, I guess. There's something about this that should be fucking boring at times, and for some reason, I was just still in. I think Joe Spinell has a pull that keeps me interested.
He's pretty magnetic in a weird way, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think I'd be amazed if who's the guy that played Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men?
Fuck, what's his name? Javier Bardem.
That's the bugger. I'd be amazed if Javier Bardem hadn't seen this movie when he went to do No Country for Old Men. There's something in there.
Almost definitely, because obviously the Coens were in the horror scene around this time. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't like, hey, Javier, mate, watch Maniac.
Did you hear the William Lustig story about the Raimis?
I'm not sure.
So I saw
Count
this
it.
in an interview. It was one of the, you can't really call it a premiere, can you? Because they were sort of just screening it wherever they could. But they had a
Yeah.
big screening in New York where lots of the cast members were there. As they were leaving, these two young, rascally, wild-eyed filmmakers came running up to Lustig and Spinell and said, "Would you take a look at something we've shot? We really love your movie and we want some feedback. We're looking for investors as well, by the way." This is when they were going to like every fucking dentist and vet in the city trying to get money. And apparently Spinell said yes, and they went off to a room together somewhere and watched a bunch of early like special effects stuff that the Raimis were working on out in the woods, and their whatever their funding cut of the original Evil Dead
Like Within the
B-roll.
Woods or
That's it, yeah.
yeah.
They watched that together and got some feedback from them. How fucking rad is that?
Like that's a thing that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
And like you can't just be like, oh hey, cool director,
yeah,
look at this thing, because you've got a YouTube and everyone in the world has also got a YouTube or like fucking whatever. Like it just doesn't happen.
But I love stories like this where, you know, these kids are running around New York City handing out VHS tapes to fucking anyone who earns like more than 40 grand, trying to get them to give them money to make a movie. And they go to this showing and they fucking hang out and give this guy a tape. I think that's so cool.
It's sort of like, I don't know, going to a Nirvana show and giving Kurt Cobain your demo tape and you're Corey Taylor from Slipknot or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of great stories like that. I just finished rereading Corporate Rock Sucks, and there's all these great stories about amazing bands that did exactly that. One of my favorites is Soundgarden took a demo tape to it was either a Greg Ginn solo show or one of his many semi-solo side projects, and put the tape on stage in front of the monitor and like pointed at it. And Greg Ginn picked it up, took it away, listened to it, and obviously signed them and put out their first record. But it's just, like you said, I mean, obviously, I'm not wistful or nostalgic for that, really. I just love it. It's such a cool story, such a great origin.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty nostalgic for that, even though I never experienced it.
Right.
Just because, like, it'll never happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be fucking amazed. Like, although I would say if somebody gave me a tape of their music, I would immediately listen to it. Not that I could do anything with it, but I would definitely listen to it. I think that's fucking...
Like, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not the same. I
No.
almost definitely wouldn't do that.
What, listen to the tape?
Yeah, I remember a guy in college being like, hey, listen to this CD. It's not my music, it's a band that I really like.
Right.
And I was like, I think you're a fucking loser. I am never listening to this CD. So I
You
took
didn't
it
listen to
home. I kept it for, I don't know, a month. And then I gave it back and was like, oh, sorry, mate, I didn't get around to it. Do you know what that record was?
Oh, God, what was it?
That record was The Greatest Story Ever Told by the Lawrence Arms.
My favorite album of all time.
Yeah, no, it's way up there for me.
So funny. Isn't it amazing what we reject when we're young because we're fucking idiots?
Yeah, I was such a prick in college.
Right.
Like, I thought I was the hottest shit ever for like, I don't know, 2 weeks.
Right.
I got arrested for spray painting on my college.
Right.
And spray painting in the bonnet of a police car.
What did you spray paint?
I spray painted the word pig.
Nice.
And I also spray painted the wankiest thing ever, which was knowledge is power, arm yourself.
At college, nice.
On the wall of my college, because they kicked me out. But yeah, I just thought I was the coolest guy ever. Imagine not listening to that record.
Yeah, I think I was just fucking clueless when I was at sixth form. This is so funny. I think I have this thing where I just can't imagine that anyone ever had a crush on me at all. And these like deep cut Saves the Day songs kept coming on in the car. Me and Claire were listening to them, and I was like, I know this from somewhere. Where do I know this from? And I remembered that a girl in my tutor group at sixth form made me a compilation CD, and it was all these like Saves the Day songs, and there was some other stuff on there that I'd never heard. Every time these, I was like, oh, that was on that compilation as well. And Claire was like, this girl fucking had a crush on you. And I went, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, all these songs are about pining after somebody, and they're all like really sappy, he doesn't love me songs. And I was like, no, then, oh, they are. And now I remember she gave me this CD, and I listened to it. I was like, that was fucking sick. Can you make me another one? And I just completely didn't pick up on the signal. I was like, these are amazing. Keep bringing them in. And for 2 years.
Can you make me a non-depressing one next time, please?
Yeah. I just kept taking these CDs off this girl. I had no idea that she had a crush on me. I still fucking don't think she did, but it's really funny that I did that for 2 years. I got like 30 fucking CDs.
I have
We were
another
dumb.
similar story where a girl lent me a different record, a different CD, and I didn't listen to it, and I gave it back, and it was Maybe I'll Catch Fire by Alkaline Trio.
God, you were really snoozing on Chicago punk rock for a hot minute there.
Yeah, I was. I was
Wow.
like, this doesn't look like it's on Fat Wreck, so I'm not going to listen to it.
I mean, I'm such a fucking, I don't know what it is, but if anyone gives me anything, I listen to it basically. Especially in hard copy format. Even if I watch a band and after the show I'm like, nice set, even if I don't 100% mean it. If they give me their CD, I'm still going to listen to it. Even if I thought they were fucking dog shit. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah,
Life's too
I'm not.
short, I guess. There's a lot of stuff I haven't listened to that I really want to. I should probably stop listening to stuff that people give me.
Everybody
that
gives
is
you
terrible.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, weirdly, I will not listen to somebody's podcast if they tell me to listen to a podcast. I'm like,
Unless you're Ira Glass, don't talk to me.
I'm not sure I can even stomach listening to any of that shit. Like, I listened to like 3 podcasts that will remain unnamed, and that's enough friends for me.
I listened to This American Life last night, Sam.
Was it good?
It was okay, but at the start, he was talking about this guy being on stage and doing some like act to heavy metal music, and it was Total Immortal by AFI.
Oh, wow. Heavy metal.
Not heavy metal music.
That's incredible. I used to work with a guy in a school who was an art teacher, and I thought he was pretty cool. He had his own thing going on. He didn't really fit in with any of the other teachers. I was horrifically hungover in the toilet, hunking my guts up during a staff briefing, and he like ran around in the toilet turning on all the hand dryers so no one outside could hear me spewing in the middle of the principal's speech, which is pretty cool behavior. And he used to do this live painting thing where he would have like a jazz noise band play, and he would just deliberately tell them to, obviously like be fucking terrible, and then he would do live art for like an hour. He'd just go completely fucking nuts on the wall, and he used to like fuck his hands up and like rub his face and his body, and he'd always wear a suit, and he looked cool as fuck. I know that's got no relevance to Maniac whatsoever. Risk taking in art. There you go, connective tissue. Speaking of risk taking,
Was
how
there a
about Maniac?
book on that story?
No, it's just heavy
Is
metal.
it? But he's got a podcast, so it turns out he wasn't cool.
No, I lost track of him. I think he moved back to New Zealand.
Boring story, Sam.
Yeah,
There's
sorry.
no-
I thought it was
there's-
cool. I thought it was that's getting cut. I thought it was
Just
just a
like-
cool thing to do.
Oh yeah. I knew a guy that was cool once.
Yeah.
Great story, Sam.
One
Nice.
time, and one time alone.
Maniac.
Maniac. I'm going to go as far as to say I really enjoyed watching it. I can't say that I'll go back and rewatch it a million times. I mean, I think it's probably the biggest praise and flattery, or phrase and flattery, that you can give this movie is that it lives up to its cover.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I love that we get a sympathetic killer.
Yeah. Well,
The movie wants you to understand him.
yeah. It wants you to know that he's fucked up because his mum was a hooker. And that's really all you get. And that's it.
Yeah. But like, because Spinell is generally really good,
Yeah.
you do find yourself sort of going along with him
Mm.
and sympathizing for him, feeling for him. And then he fucks it up again by killing someone. And then like he gets you back, and then he kills someone.
Yeah.
And then
You don't ever think he's going to turn it around. Do you know what I mean? But
No.
I think as an audience member, no one's naive enough to think, oh, I think he's going to be fine. but you enjoy the ups and
he
downs.
is fine. He
Yeah.
opens his eyes at the end.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about his death, because in terms of like Savini effects, I feel like it's pretty strong, but it
Yeah,
feels
well-
like, pre some other stuff that we'll get into in another episode. But I really enjoyed the death scene. I think there's moments in the movie where you realize that you're not even bound to, well, you're definitely not bound to slasher conventions, but you're not bound to just horrible physical violent horror in this movie, because you get, reanimated corpse mum busting out the ground and trying to drag him into the grave. You get that level of kind of fantastic horror as well. And the same at the end, he's obviously not, those mannequins haven't actually come to life and started killing him.
Wait,
so you're in
I
his
fell asleep
mind.
after that, so
Oh, spoiler. You're in his mind while that's happening, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that, this is filmmaking that's brave enough to move away from blowing people's brains out with a shotgun in visceral physical reality to, him imagining himself being torn to shreds by his victims.
I don't quite understand what's happening. Not what's happening there, but like, is it meant to be that he's getting gradually more insane as the movie runs on? So like, because he was never, or we never at least saw him be attacked by his reanimated mum until he has that sort of meltdown at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Which I don't really understand what that is. Is it grief? Is it guilt? Is it just a full psychotic break? Like, what causes him to go insane?
Yeah, I guess it's not telegraphed. Do you think he visits the grave often? I got the impression he didn't, and it was, a flood of emotion at being at the grave, maybe.
But he starts talking about that first victim. He's like, Betsy knew, or whatever.
Yeah, he starts using a different woman's name, right? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't read into that too much because I was having too much fun, to be totally honest. But I read it as that he didn't go there often, so it was really evocative of a lot of repressed emotions, and that drove him to kill again. And I don't know how much logic there is in using that specific name. Either way, we're at a point in the movie that is a pretty significant twist in his, or like a ratcheting up of his aggression, I think.
And him dropping the veneer with Anna.
Yeah.
I think the real fuck you ending for me is the police don't even take his pulse. They just walk in and they're like, oh, I guess he's dead.
These cops, fucking chuds. They're so bad. They really needed Bruce Campbell to be the cop at the end of this movie. Like they fucking dropped the bollock big time. But is he alive? But you're right. They don't take his pulse, and he does open his fucking eyes. Like maybe that's why they don't take his pulse, because the movie needs to have him open his eyes for the sequel.
Him opening his eyes after they take a pulse is more powerful.
True. Yeah. Well, it's definitely less
more slashery.
Yeah. It made me think immediately of the whole idea that in Friday Part 2 they were supposed to have Mrs. Voorhees' eyes open, her like severed, withered head. There was a lot of talk about the eyes opening, and you can see they actually made it's an actual head in a mask ready to pop the eyes open. Unforgivable.
Yeah, so I've read that the headless reanimated mannequin, is the same prosthetic from Friday the 13th.
Really?
But I've also read that it isn't.
I mean, you have to imagine Tom Savini's workshop at this point. He's not throwing shit away, is he? If it's reusable, he's fucking keeping it and trotting it out again. I like his old nose, I gotta say. I'm a fan of the old nose.
I like his old nose. I think Disco Boy is my favorite Tom Savini.
It's such a great character name as well. Do you know why it's Disco Boy?
Because he's a boy and he went to a disco.
Which brings me on to another one of my favorite things about this movie, and you called this really early, the cast list. It's just great. It's everything I love.
I texted you, didn't I? I screenshotted a stack of the cast and sent it to you.
It could be like the track list of my favorite hardcore album. Nurse, Disco Boy, Hooker, Street Hooker, Deadbeat. It's so good. It's perfect.
Yeah, Beach Boy.
Just nailed it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it is good. And I feel like I'm in danger here of saying that it's of sounding like I think it's fantastic and it's perfect. It's definitely not. It's got some
I think it's
wonk.
perfect for what it is.
Yeah. It is one of those movies that completely succeeds in its mission statement, I think.
Absolutely.
And it's a whole. It's got the name, it's got the cover, it's got the actors, it's got the lore, it's got the crazed, insane, wild man attempts at, getting this into people's living rooms. It's the full package.
I can't think of many things that horrify me more than nailing on the scalps to the mannequins.
Yeah, I think there's a slightly unpleasant part of me that was just like, oh, you should do that differently. Like, I didn't connect with it because I was like, oh, there's such a better way to do that. And I always do that in movies. If someone's fucking up like a DIY task, like they're fucking up taxidermying their mother, I'm like, oh, you should really do it this way. And I miss the intended impact of the scene. The tapping sound is horrible.
It's like it's so tactile, I think, and it's so crude. It's like it's almost like a metaphor for this entire movie. Is like this is the wrong way of doing it, and somehow manages to be the most horrifying thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. It's 100% deliberate. It works on every level. It's very fucking clever. That tapping sound is in my head forever. It's probably
Yeah.
what it sounds like to have your fucking hair nailed to your head. It's probably what it sounds like for you in your head.
It's just it's so real and gross. And like you say, it's not the best way of doing it. Get this motherfucking staple gun.
Get this
Like,
man a good, curing balm and some great wig glue, and he's flying. That's what he needs.
I think if you did that, then you couldn't take them off. You couldn't interchange them. So when you cycle out Betty for Veronica, like
True.
you could just like back end of the hammer wrench the nail out, which you can't do with strong wig glue.
Well, you can, because wig glue's meant for, the human scalp. So it's not meant to last forever, and a lot of it's water soluble. But still, I'm not going to criticize this maniac's methods. I think he gets the job done, and that's what counts.
So we were talking about the noise that it makes when he's sort of tapping the nails into the mannequin.
Mm.
The noise that it makes when the mannequins have come back to life and they're pulling his head off. That clicking noise
Yeah.
haunts my fucking dreams, Sam.
Yeah, there's one little 2-second sound there that is, oof. I mean, that's...
Oh, it's so real. Like, and it's like, makes me think, oh, this is happening. This isn't just in his head.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can't be happening. The mannequins can't come to life. This isn't that movie with the guy from Weekend at Bernie's and Kim Cattrall.
That sound is it's what you hear when you crack your own neck. Nobody else hears that coming out of your neck. You hear it in your head. And it feels like a Savini Vietnamism to me. Like, I know he's probably not involved in the sound, but I would be astonished if that scene didn't happen and he didn't turn to someone and go, you know what that should sound like? It should sound like, that sound in your neck? When you crack your, it should sound like that. It's a gross sound and a gross scene and a gross effect, and everything about it feels unnatural and dreamlike. They don't rip its head off. They don't pull it off slowly. They sort of slide it off sideways, and that's somehow more awful.
Yeah, it's really bleak, and then he's just stabbed.
Yeah.
And obviously he's dead. We don't even need to walk into the room properly.
Mm.
I also believe that from the cops. I think cops in New York in 1980 or 1979 or whatever were literally the worst people you could possibly imagine.
I'm probably quite busy.
So let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll give our sums up. 2 sums up.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Okay, I'm back, Sam. Are you back?
I'm back.
What would you recommend listeners of this podcast do right this second?
I would say listen to loads of Husker Du and also rate this podcast 5 out of 5 stars if that's how you feel. If not, rate it however you see fit. But also, I'd love it if you'd write a review or a question or an observation in whatever format you're listening to this on. You could also do us a solid and follow us on all of the social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok, all your favorites, and tell your friends. So just, if you're in a car, lean out the window and scream, "Final Transmission!" at somebody as you go past.
Yeah. If you're going to go follow us on the social media platforms, just so you know, the handle there is FT Horror Show.
Sure is. At FT Horror Show. You're welcome.
And yell that out the window too.
Yep, do it. Would you care to take a moment, Jamie, to offer your final thoughts and rating on the 1980 not really slasher Maniac?
Yeah, I would. I would be happy to do that, Sam. I really, really like this film.
Yeah.
I think the way that it sort of glides beautifully between like gutter cinema and almost high art is something that you will never experience ever again. It's completely, other films have done that, but none of them do it in quite the way that Maniac does. I think the idea that, 6 months before this, William Lustig was filming Hot Honeys, it just blows my mind.
What a renaissance man.
Porn in the 70s was a little bit different. They had a lot more plot.
Yep.
One of my favorite movie posters ever is a porn film from the 70s.
What's it? What's the vibe?
So the movie's called Here Comes the Bride.
Okay.
And the poster, it's Samantha Fox, but not the British glamour model, the American porn actress.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure she's topless and she's wearing like a veil, and she's holding the bouquet in front of her genitalia area, and it says, "Can a nympho really find true love?"
Spoilers, no.
She tries her hardest. It's her
She
wedding
sure
day,
does.
bless her. I'm going to find it.
True love on her wedding day many times. Sounds like instead of rating this movie, you're just recommending Here Comes the Bride to our audience.
Oh, and sorry, the tagline is actually, "Can a nympho live happily ever after?"
Well, find out for yourselves, people, and pop it in the comments. Go watch that movie and tell us if you think a nympho can live happily ever after. Wow, I mean, you're painting the star of the movie on the cover of your pornos in the 70s. And
Yeah, literally.
And you make her look so bad. Like, what are you doing? Oh, boy. Sure. Looks great. I'm in.
So anyway, there's plot in this movie, in Here Comes the Bride, just as much as there is in like Deep Throat or whatever.
Sure.
And so I assume, I've not seen Hot Honeys or any of Bill Lustig's other pornos,
Right.
but I'm assuming they've got some plot to them.
Sure.
Which is weird because like it feels like we would have aged into plot rather than aged out of plot. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I totally see what you mean, but I think it has a lot to do with people's use of pornography, should we say, and people's attention span, sadly.
Oh, so I've just looked, and William Lustig, he used a pseudonym when he was making porn,
Wow.
and the pseudonym was Billy Bag.
Billy Bag. Oh, what the fuck? Is he talking about a condom or his nutsack or both? And if so, why?
And he also made a porn film called The Violation of Claudia, which is going straight onto my watch list because that sounds
Like a Maniac prequel.
I mean, it's so a tennis instructor leads a wealthy but neglected housewife into the world of prostitution. People were wanking to this, Sam.
Very slowly for 90 minutes. You would have thought we'd age into edging, but it's been here all along.
Anyway, none of this is my sum up of Maniac. So much of it is really good. Like you said, it does everything that it wants to do. So, and it does it in a way that appeals to me. Even when I sort of find myself lagging a little bit, ropes me back in pretty quickly. So I'm going to give this 9 little stuffed teddy bears out of 10.
9 is a high rating, especially when it's out of 10.
It's not especially high rating if it's out of 50.
No, I'm going to 100% agree with everything you just said to make everyone's lives really easy. It's really good. It's totally satisfying in the sense that it does everything that you want it to. For a movie called Maniac with that cover, it sets out a pretty bold mission statement and it goes at it hard. It does it in a really fucking punk rock way. It's risky, it's controversial, it's bold, and it's ultimately a very rewarding watch. I'm going to give it 8.5 condoms full of blood out of 10.
Nice.
Ticked a whole shit ton of my boxes, and I didn't find myself on first watch really flagging. I admire the spirit of the filmmaking, and I think that this is a movie that probably did a great deal of good in terms of inspiring filmmakers to come and showing them what's possible with fuck all budget.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I was inspired to come.